Good morning, afternoon, evening around the world. Today is July 6th, 2022. This is the Techspressionist Salon number 47. I'm Michael Price, and I'm hosting today's Salon meeting, and wanted to see if Colin Goldberg, who kind of got things started here, had anything to add before we get going. Colin?
No, I don't think so. I did just want to say again, now that we're recording, thank you to Michael for offering to moderate, and I believe Michael will be moderating the next one as well. I will not be present for that one because of family obligation, but the show must go on. So I'll pass the mic back to Michael.
All right. So today's theme is materiality, which sounds like a big highfalutin concept, but basically, since we are primarily artists who deal with technology, and oftentimes in a digital realm, that can seem rather ethereal and non-material. So what we're going to do today is have a number of the artists who wish to share their work as it relates to materiality. Each artist will have roughly 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how many artists want to share their work today. And then we'll have some follow-up discussion. So if anybody has questions or anything they'd like to discuss about any of the particular artists' works, please wait until all the artists have had a chance to present their work, and then hopefully we'll have some nice lively discussion. If you would like to share your work, please use the raise hand option at the bottom of the screen, and we'll go in order of artists who raise their hand. So don't be shy. Let's get this going. Okay, Jan Swinburne, you're up.
Okay, unmuted and screen share. Let's see if it works. Okay, glasses would help. Desktop. Okay, just do that. Well, that's not helpful. Okay. So because it was materiality, I thought this would be a good one for me to sort of revisit what I'm doing. Can everyone see my screen? Is that a yes? Yes. Okay. So basically, for those of you who aren't familiar with my work, what I'm doing is I'm taking spoken word, my voice, and translating the audio waveforms into sort of these 3D renderings. And I thought I'd show you where they start and where they end up. And I like the idea of materializing. I've not really produced prints. I've put stuff up online, and I'm still ambivalent about these particular works and printing them, and it wasn't quite as satisfying as where I've ended up. So what you see here is this word is time, and I'll just show you the variations that I've come up with over the last couple of years, if I can click on them. And all of these are the word time. And I believe this one was for preparation for what I will be showing you in a minute. And then some of them, this one ended up like a waveform. And then a lighter version of that one. Okay, I'm just going to drop this, hopefully. And okay, so I just want to skip ahead though to, let me just see this one. This one. Okay, this is the word love. And here's some other versions as well. And I'm really enjoying actually getting these out into a physical realm and working with my hands on them. The pandemic has really done my passion for screen work in quite a bit. I don't know why exactly, but this is another version of love as well. This one has been rendered, which you'll see in a minute. That's a different color. So I'm currently working with the idea of like, I'm materializing them using CNC process and hand carving and texture and painting. These are quick snaps from my iPhone. They aren't the best pictures quality wise, but you can get the idea. I'm doing a smaller version. I like the idea of sort of materializing them and then dematerializing again, because I do film these later. So they have a direct relationship to moving image and sculpture and combined, and I'll probably be doing some other stuff with them as well. The originals were larger. This is love as well. This is one I'm working on. This is a studio shot in progress from the word desire. And a different version of love. I decided to call this one agape, the Greek, and this one I went with pragma. Another shot of agape, and another shot of pragma. And this was a studio shot where I got some light play on it, and that sort of works into the idea of the filming that will happen later on, or videoing. This is from, this is the word crazy, actually, and different versions, different renderings of them. And I've just got one more, I think. No, I've been through them all. Okay. Yeah. So let me just check. I think I got them all. Okay, this is time rendered. And this is a still from a quick video moving image that I did of the final sculpture, but I will film and refilm and refilm until I get what I'm happy with. And that's from a larger one of the word crazy, and in studio of the larger version of love. So there you have it. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you're interested. And I will stop sharing my screen. Okay, great.
Thanks, Jan.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'll wait till after all the artists present, but I definitely have a few questions for you, and I'm sure some of the others will as well.
Great,
Very,
thanks.
very interesting. Yeah. Okay, Patrick Lichty. Hey, Patrick.
You know what? I'd rather step back for a couple minutes. I'm getting,
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'll keep you in the queue here. On my screen, I've got Renata next.
Thank you, Michael. Okay. It's supposed to be in full screen. Here we are. So in this work, there's a very strong presence of organic dynamic form. Part of what makes it strong is the absolute lack of a space behind the forms. There is no actual surface. You have a void, therefore there is no materiality. You have the light falling on different planes and surfaces which give it movement. And that kind of light comes from, if you think back to the Baroque era, when sculpture and painting had this tension that was dynamic and often curved around itself, which gave the work a lot of drama. So for example, Caravaggio is an example of that kind of strong play of light and dark, or on dark, because he often had very dark brown, almost black backgrounds. And when I make work on a black ground, I feel like the light is very structural, because you can really perceive it against the darkness. There's no actual surface. There's no physicality to this thing. Therefore, it's dematerialized. There is texture, color, and the eye moves around. There are fantasy elements, and they're taken from rocky landscapes, from plant and animal life. But it is paradoxical because we engage with this in the same way that we engage with sculpture. The other thing about the black background is it could suggest deep space, but I don't think that that was my intention. It also suggests the lack of light, and that suggests the unknown. And this produces a kind of anxiety. So to see this whole fiesta of color on this darkness, it's when we see the forms, they're unmoored. They don't have a place, and they're sort of physically and conceptually loosened from the ground. And there was a series of these, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go with them, because they're fairly recent. So this is a companion piece to the one that I just showed you. And I'm finding it's very good to work with color on black. I always think digital work shows really well on black. And that is my work. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Renata. Very intriguing. I'm gonna have some comments and questions for you as well. So awesome. Well, I don't know if Patrick wants to go now, or we can go to Colin. So
Go to Colin.
okay. All right, Colin, you're up.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let me just share my screen here. Okay, so I'm going to show a couple things that are these drawings that I'm using in my my AxiDraw plotter for, and they're a combination of ink wash painting and this kind of drawing with metallic and white ink. So I'm using pens in the plotter, and basically, you know, what I find interesting is using the hardware to do things that I couldn't do necessarily with an inkjet. So definitely metallics and printing in white, you know, are things I've always wanted to be able to do, and using the plotter has like allowed me to start experimenting. So I've been using a lot of different types of paper, you know, mostly Reeves BFK, and been getting that in, you know, a variety of different colors. Black, you know, really works nicely. and just sort of an India ink ground. And, this was just sort of a last minute idea to show this work because I just started on a new set of these. And these ones here were made maybe in the beginning of the year, probably around January or so. So they were really like, the first bunch. But usually what I'll do is, paint a series of grounds and I actually have a bunch behind me on the table here that I just painted, excuse me, this afternoon that are drying. So those pieces I actually just photographed. They're still wet, but I couldn't resist getting going on them. So, took a quick shot of them with my phone, and then I sized them up in Photoshop to the actual size, which is 13 by 19. And then I dropped them into a layer in Adobe Illustrator and create these different sorts of vector-based compositions that eventually are going to get overlaid and drawn on top of the painted surface. And I haven't really started too much on the process of what the composition process. This particular set, I did these kind of graphical elements separately, kind of just completely apart from the underpaintings. These were actually done a while ago, like a couple weeks ago, and then it's a process of trying them out, moving them around on the ground, see where they make sense. And I think it's interesting to try to use the metallics and the white in combination with the painted ground to come up with a sense of space. So like if I pull up some of the grounds for the previous ones, you can kind of see they're basically like a mock-up. This one was never actually, or these are actually some of the ones that I composed and made a different set of grounds that were slightly smaller, that were 11 by 17. But these are kind of like the mock-ups. And then what I'll do is separate out, that doesn't have a drawing on top of it, but separate out the drawing part of it onto just a separate document, and then run it through the AxiDraw, which takes an SVG file, which is kind of like an open source vector format. So so it's all, it's a lot of experimentation. I really enjoy the combination of the painting and the digital drawing component, and that material part of the work is definitely something that I don't think I'll ever let go of. I enjoy working with animations, so that kind of has allowed me to play a little bit with the whole NFT idea and still feel like I'm utilizing the idea of an NFT or the NFTs for something that I think fits with what my conception of what they're good for is. As far as still images go, still work, I feel like in some ways I'm still a painter at heart, so I enjoy that sort of the power of the accident, watching where the ink is going to go, watching how the print head moves over the surface or how the colors interact. That's something that's not predictable. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to share.
Cool. It's interesting to see how you combine different printing techniques over printing each other. So I find that really, really cool. Thanks, Colin. Okay, Patrick.
I'm okay now. Okay, I'm good now. So let's see. All right, I'm set, so I can share. Yeah. You can see that I'm blowing off a little steam today. So you'll kind of see me in my, and let's see here. This is some work, of course, with my dear wife and partner in all things, Nagin Etisabian, who is don't know if she's not here, she's sleeping, because it's been a long time with the weird show. We've been working really hard. So anyway, what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna kind of say, this is really kind of funny, is that this was actually a shot that I took. I had a solo thing at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago in 2009, and it just amused me that that there was this just this thing that said hi, at there. So it was kind of like a Warholian sort of thing. But we're thinking about this idea of images and materiality and all this, and what am I working on currently is that say for example, I don't have the images up that about the let's see here, and actually I'll make this a little cleaner. Is that I think that I've probably shown the fact that I've been doing a lot of generative adversarial network work with Iranian carpets and mixing different styles like Bakhtiari with Isfahani and Baluchi and that sort of thing, and seeing what we go, and then going and weaving those. That's one form of materiality. But then on the other hand, I wonder with this whole materiality thing, why in the hell we're making objects? And I've been doing plotter work, for I think since about 0304 and that sort of thing. So I'm just trying to maybe do something else. So what I got, if you're exploring in the AI realm, some of the new stuff right now is DALL-E and DALL-E 2, and I've been working more with Midjourney, and it's a text driven AI that basically has an interface for Discord, which, to tell you the truth, I think is much more entertaining than the work itself. Because you're just sitting there watching these prompts that people are feeding the machine, and they're really, really interesting. And the issue is that people were winding up stealing everybody else's prompts, and and it's really an interesting sociological situation. But I wonder, it makes you wonder, why do we make art? Why why do we want to have an object? Why do we want to do all these sorts of things? And I think I like to I like looking at this Midjourney stuff, and I'm just kind of sitting here and going on about this a bit, because it kind of will pop a little bit when you do it, is that when you see it, because a lot of my roots are in surrealism and Dada, and I'm seeing people making a lot of say like anime style mecha and just kind of maybe needlessly goth things, and let's see, the 10th ring of hell, or and I'm just saying, okay, well, this is really I guess this is fun. So I just have been decided to say, wonder what are the edges of the field of this thing. And then next thing I'll talk about is kind of like where the next one of my new bodies of work, or things that I've been developing since 2017, is dealing with 3D scans. So I've been kind of going a little bit surrealistic. I said Soren Kierkegaard as anime style mecha. I said, okay, that's maybe it's interesting. But then the other thing that I thought was really interesting to me is that I typed in Techspressionist still life #1. Oh, wait, no, there we go. And here's what I got. And I thought it was really interesting that it gave me this kind of realistic, kind of traditional still life in a, and something that looks like, almost like a computer, old style TV screen or computer monitor. And I said, that's really interesting that this thing can actually kind of suss this out. And I'm going, okay. And then I just got frustrated. I just started feeding it things like greasy, grimy gopher guts. It's great green gobs of greasy, grimy gopher butts and guts in a Studio Ghibli style. Here we go. Brilliant. So, you know, and so that's, and, but, you know, I'm very interested in possibly doing some of these things as oils. And, so I want to kind of talk about, you know, basically with the whole, you know, I'm just saying right at the moment I've been messing around with Midjourney, you know, because before Ann and Carla and I were working with Playform, and I forget the one in the middle. Oh, Night Cafe. That's what I did. And there's this, and I'm very interested in this idea of how these things keep developing. But since 2017 in Sharjah, and actually before that, I've been interested in photogrammetry. You know, I've been very interested in the idea of using photogrammetry as a source for VR, 2D works, things like this. And I'm generally calling this work since 2017 when I went to the Cat Cafe in Dubai and did a 3D scan of a sleeping cat on a chair having to do with certain Islamic texts, and I'm not kidding. I just kind of realized that I'm away from the keyboard. I'm making things, and there's this embodiment that has to do with thinking. And here, of course, I have Techspressionists Tommy Mintz, who I scanned at the Techspressionist Digital and Beyond exhibition. And so you know, what I'm very interested in here is the idea of how a lot of my work's about mediation, about, you know, taking one thing from one area of representation to another. In other words, how does a portrait of Tommy, you know, as a 3D scan translate as a 2D image? Or what if I take it into Unreal Engine? Or what if I put him at the gas station in AR? You know, and these are unconventional approaches, which I particularly happen to like. So let's see here. Okay, yep, this is so this is something I would kind of say, I'll rope in Nagin a little bit on this. So this is a scan that we did at the ruins of Kourian near Limassol, Cyprus. And this is an old Roman villa. And the thing is that the thing I love about this is that this is not the perspective that I scanned this at. In other words, I went and I rotated this to get this perspective and did this shot. And this will have to do with the last shot that I talk about. And you know, and this is the one thing that I kind of like with this, things like volumetric video or 3D scanning and doing it as 2D or doing it as VR. It gives you these impossible perspectives that you can deal with that I really like. And so this one here is also a, you know, this is an impossible perspective of the old town. You know, is Nagin in there? I think, I don't know. Shoot, I don't know. Is that in anything I do, she's in, but nevertheless. But this is, you know, kind of also a little bit having to do with our larger Google Earth project, in which, you know, we're, you know, exploring the Earth and you know, seeing how we see it through each other's eyes. But this starts getting interesting because during this trip we also went, we went to the Greek Orthodox monastery of Saint Nicholas of the Cats, which actually exists. So we went there and I started doing cat scans again. And these are actually it's actually a monastery that takes care of a 14th century saint's cats who brought them down from Constantinople to get rid of the snake population. And I love the fractured nature of these things. And so the interesting thing then, what I've been doing is that I've then been executing these as sets of either watercolors or oils. And take a, you know, I like the fact that sometimes these things make me slow down that much. And this is one of those images from that I captured from the scans. And this is actually this comes from an actual 3D scan of a street scene in Limassol, Cyprus that, I took this impossible perspective of one form of materiality and then translated it from this 3D scan. And it's, of course, it's very fractured. And then putting it into, putting it into oil. And I just sometimes wonder why on earth do I want this thing on canvas? Is it something more than the fact that I think it's going to last longer than something on my computer, or is it just some tchotchke for some person with some money to have, or is it something? And I'm being rather offhand, but on the other hand is that I think we as artists, that we want to share ourselves and the human conditions with others, and have ourselves bring added value to other people's lives. And I believe that. And, and that's, I think that's really valid. But, as usual in this salon, I'm kind of the academic who's almost taking, the almost surrealist provocation, and just kind of going through here and saying that I've been fooling around a bit with the later, with the latest AI stuff, working on working these scans. And then, honestly, a lot of my time, in this last month has just been taken up by the Weird Show. And, this is probably the last 2 weeks' work. And I figure that I actually have, this is going to sound crazy, I have 7 plotters. And I'm going to see if I can fire about half them up and maybe start, get the farm running maybe in August. But let's see, is there anything else? Nope, that's it. And I'm going to stop share. And that's me. And so anyway, thanks, Michael. And I hope that this at least gave people at least a modicum of entertainment. All right.
Well, it
Thanks.
certainly gave me a whole lot of entertainment, Patrick. Thank you. You're an entertaining guy.
Well,
with all the hard work you've been doing to get the Weird Show up, I could see why wanting to let out a little bit of creativity here.
That's a good way of putting it.
Would be therapeutic, if nothing else, for you.
Yeah, it's especially the Ghibli style. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but what's really funny about that is that you start putting that up in the Discord, and people people notice that you're starting to do starting to try to break the machine a little bit, and they start taking attention to you. It's like, what the hell are you doing? And it's just like saying, I'm doing something you're not.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, looks like Lucy has her hand up. Yay, Lucy, good to see you, and congrats again on getting into the film festival with your work. I think that's great. So take it away.
Thanks. So this is a little series that I did last year, about a year ago. So it's not new. I was playing with windows into a different universe, and it's called A Tree Remembers. A Tree Remembers a Greener Time. Let me just, oh, you know what? As usual, I always forget to enable audio. Let me get that one going. Okay, so there's 3 of these short little animations. They're all about 40 seconds, and it's 3 versions. This one is A Tree Remembers a Greener Time. not sure how obvious it was, but it's sort of like the tree becomes a window into that greener universe. And this one is a tree protects its memories of a greener time. I'm not going to make it full screen because the playback goes jerky when I do it that way for some reason. But and the last one is a tree sheds its memories of a greener time. And that one was like little leaf-shaped windows into a greener universe. And that's it. That's that little series. Kind of
Wow.
materiality or not materiality or something. I'm not quite sure.
Well, thank you, Lucy. Those were beautiful. And I'm going to have some questions for you too after this. So thank you for your presentation. Looks like Susan has her hand raised. So Susan DeTroy,
Hi,
have at it.
thank you. I recently have been thinking quite a bit about, I'm partly influenced about thinking about NFTs. And in the last, I think maybe 6 months or so, I started looking through my files and thinking about what kind of collection I might want to have, partly about NFTs, but and then thinking about the topic of materiality, I began thinking how photography really is, I mean, all my work has base in photography now, and how photography for me really is taking something material. In this case, I'm going to talk about florals, but in my other work, taking my own face and then creating something that is about the material world, but extends and expands the idea and the feelings of those items that are captured in real time. And so I started looking through my files, as I mentioned, and I didn't realize how much kind of, in a way, casual work I'd created over the years from my garden and mostly from my garden. it was important work, but I hadn't thought of it as having a place to itself. I mostly was using it as an element to combine with my Portrait of a Woman series that I combined my face with. But then I had a shift of ideas. And once I started organizing and looking through older photographic pieces, I thought, I have a lot of floral work. So, and then the season of roses came, and we have a very beautiful garden, rose garden here. And I began to realize I have a lot of work about roses. So over the last few months, I started pulling together files and images, and I'm still doing that, organizing. And I came up with a series that initially is going to be about roses, and it'll probably change because that's how things are in the art world. But this series is has a Spanish name because I used to speak Spanish and I used to live in Spain. It's called Las Flores Divinas, the divine flowers, and flowers that are divine. And as I go deeper into thinking about the series, I started doing a little bit more research about the botany of flowers, because I was a botany major, or part of my composite degrees were in botany and botanical, and I worked in herbarium. So I have all this influence from my past of these different things that I did. And I have, what's happened with looking through and organizing and starting to concentrate on these pieces is that a kind of combination of my different selves is coming together. And I'm deepening my ideas about the love of earth and representing that in an artistic way. So I'm going to show, I have seven that I've completed that I'm planning to show as in NFTs. And I'm going to go through those, and all of them are about roses. And my work is in, I do my work with an iPhone and an iPad, and everything I create is made with handheld devices. And that's something I chose to do a few years ago. And so all of these pieces are created in that way. And these have names, but I don't have those attached to the files that I'm looking at in my photo album. So I have them in another document that I could look up, but I'm just going to show them. I am particularly enamored with the standalone camera app called Hipstamatic, which some of you may know about. I'm slightly obsessed with Hipstamatic, and I find it to render the real world in like an alternative view. It gives me an alternative, more deeply emotional view of what I'm photographing. So, and yeah, I think I am just constantly drawn to the luscious depth of flowering plants. I just think they're beautiful. And I think there's a lot that is communicated by taking their form and changing it. So, okay.
Wow.
I don't know why I'm not showing up, but
Did you have more that you wanted to say, Susan?
I don't know that I have. Let me just see. I made a little.
Okay, I didn't want to cut you off, so.
No, I think that's it. I haven't actually talked about this work. This is the first time that I've shared in an artistic way. I've mentioned it to my close friends, of course, that I'm doing it, but I haven't. I've been more working on it and thinking about it and researching and the idea about plants and how it's connected and all the things I said. But I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so very much. Anyone else have anything that they want to share before we get into Q&A and discussion? Okay, I'm not
I
seeing
was thinking, hello, Michael, I'm Malavika here. I'm
Yes.
thinking of, it's here midnight 3. So I'm just preparing it. 2 minutes, can I get it? By that time you can start the QA maybe.
Sure. Did you want to do that now?
Hello, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
So
did
I'm
you want
just,
to share now?
no, I'll take little 5-10 minutes because I'm joining from the desktop. I was
Okay.
on, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's
By the
fine.
time-
Let me know when you're ready then. Actually, if there's nobody else who wants to share any work, then I think we're good to ask questions and or share some comments and feedback. And I don't see any hands raised, so
Can I just ask a question and maybe I can get some feedback, because I like to show my work, but I can't deal with this share content thing. All I can do is share one picture. I don't know how people are able to kind of maneuver around and show more than one picture.
oh. Okay. Well, there's the share screen button at the bottom of the screen that allows you to share what's on your screen.
What's on my screen? Okay, I got that. And then,
Okay.
okay.
So if you click on that, then we'll get to see your screen.
But I'm thinking that it's not going to be done on an iPad. Is that correct?
Okay. Now
It's
you're
like-
getting beyond my technical expertise.
Okay, well, I think that probably I could maybe share one picture on the iPad, but I'll have to be on the computer before I do.
Oh, you can share on an iPad.
Yes,
Can
I
you-
just shared. I'm on an iPad. I just shared on from my iPad.
Oh, and you had more than one picture, right?
I allowed the app to it asked me to share my screen, and I just pressed share my screen, and then it went to my what's on my iPad screen. I
So
don't know if
that-
that's helpful.
Well, did it go to Iphotos, or did it ask you which place you wanted to go, or?
No, you just
Oh.
do that once you get to your screen.
Okay.
If that's helpful, I don't know.
Because one doesn't, unless you have this account, one doesn't, I mean, we're not able to practice this share content. I mean, there's nothing, that allows you to do that. I've been on, I don't know how many websites that give you instructions and all that, but there's never enough information about share content. So anyway, I'll just muddle on through it someday. I'll show you my work. Thanks anyway.
I don't know if it's helpful, but it actually, once you share a screen, whatever you do on that screen will be seen. I think you know, I tend to overcomplicate things sometimes myself, but I think it's as simple as that. Like, if you share that screen, I'm not sure on iPad how it works. Susan seemed to know better, but if you're on that screen and then you open up your iPhotos and your pictures are there, you kind of want to prepare though before you do it. So you have things grouped in a way, you know, and you're kind of ready. I don't know if that's helpful.
One other piece of advice.
It is.
If I can give you one other piece of advice about practicing, I can practice by setting up a Zoom meeting for myself. So at a later date, you can just open a meeting with yourself, and it will allow you to share your screen and practice.
Really? Oh, that's
absolutely
wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's good.
Great
advice,
idea.
Renata.
Great idea, Renata.
Wonderful.
Another suggestion is to create an album in your iPhotos, since you have an iPad, and you can put all the pictures that you want to show in that album. And then you just go to that album after you share your screen. And that makes it easy. You know, it's a nice preparation to get you ready.
Oh, great. Thanks so much.
Thanks all you iPad folks. Okay, so who has any comments or questions? Roz?
Yeah. Jan, when looking at your works, and maybe I missed something. Oh, is my air conditioner loud? Can you hear it? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, the voice that carries across a lake, as my mother always said. But it's a little hot here today in Shelter Island. Jan, when I was looking at your work, and you said that the images were words. I know it doesn't really matter, I guess, what process someone uses, but I'm just curious, like, how do the words become the mountains or whatever it is we're looking at? If you want to share that, I was looking at them, and it's not like I wanted a literal transcription, but I was wondering what the process is for you of that interpretation.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Roz. I'm really interested. I mean, art is paralanguage anyways, and I've always been interested in sound and language in particular, and ambivalent. So basically, I take a screenshot of a waveform and then run it through a 3D app. And that's how I get the initial mountains. And then there's tons and tons of work processing and refining them to be seen, thinking the way the CNC machine will see. So it becomes, there's bits of random things that happen, but there is like, I'm trying to write an expanded artist statement and philosophy behind this, because that is part of taking the spirit of Australian songlines, and also the nullification of language is part of it. And aesthetically, it can just be that aesthetic experience, but what drives the inspiration behind this is I can't look at a mountain without seeing a waveform. It's that sense of pattern and fractals and whatnot that really intrigues me, but the added layer of sort of these hidden meanings that exist in all art, as well as kind of voicelessness is another theory that I'm working with as well. So that's kind of how I get there. It's complicated, and I stumbled upon it playing around with the apps, and it kind of changed everything, but it just sit nicely with this long time fascination I've had with language and sound, and I'm hoping to re-embody it possibly at one point. Some of the words I've chosen are edgy, like crazy and psycho, but stringing the words together and then maybe having some sort of choral work, re-embodied, like it's disembodied, re-embodied, materialized, and then working with those sort of concepts. it's complicated, but it's fun. And it can just be a mountain to people if that's what they see.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
So Jan, I have a follow-up question for you from Roz. What inspired you, since you didn't get a chance to play the animation of like the shadows and everything,
All right.
what inspired you? Because I'm fascinated by the animations of the shadows going across your mountains. For me, it's got this weird element of kind of bringing back into play the dynamics of sound waves and everything else from a very different standpoint, where shadows are formed from shapes of material things. So I was just really intrigued by where that inspiration came from, because I find it really quite interesting.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. That is the magic of my studio. And again, it's like I'm working, and I was actually having a bit of a conniption fit this year because the city came and trimmed my tree. They actually aren't animated, they are live, like it's live filming. So I'm running into the studio at certain times of the day, setting up this weird arrangement I have to try and capture the motion and the shadows on the sound as well. And that just intrigues me as well, the layers of kind of meaning, motion, fractal, the distortions that happen, and the sense of being live. That's something that the filming offers, that, you know, it's fun to watch a waveform go up and down and all of that, but when you have this chaos happening on top of this other chaos, which is by this time sort of organized aesthetically, it's really it just adds, those are the ones I'm sort of calling internet songlines. To me, it's a reminder of landforms and where you can put it out on the internet. I mean, the landing spots for the internet are windows and pages, and I just would like that to tie in that relationship back to the actual world we live in, as opposed to this mysterious one that we're all creating all the time. So that's kind of where that comes in, and
Okay.
it just gives it that life feeling. It's like, you know, you can do digital music like crazy, but if it's good to put a bit of live stuff in there, otherwise you get those accidentals happening, and it just gives it that quality.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank
asking.
you. Thanks.
That's cool.
Any other questions, please?
I'm gonna ask a question to Colin.
Go for
Colin,
it.
beautiful new work. I mean, sometimes if people don't ask things, it's not because it's not rather stunning, but I like these new pieces. They seem to have some kind of like solar disc, or there's something different, it looks, that's happening in these. I don't know where my question is, but I just wonder where the inspiration comes. I mean, you're now living in Vermont. Is that, you know, I don't know what compels you in your work, where the inspiration is, but I mean, it's beautiful work. And I just wonder, is it totally just out of your mind, or do you take a walk on a Vermont stream and come back and all of a sudden these are different works?
I mean, I find that for me, usually the process kind of drives the experimentation to some degree, you know, like in terms of using the plotter. It definitely like some types of compositions work better than others compared to, say, using an inkjet overprint, you know. And yeah, I guess, you know, I mean, a lot of it is really just sort of like not sure exactly where it all comes from. I do notice, like, you know, with these particular works, I'm primarily using like metallic and white inks. So a lot of times, you know, there'll be juxtaposition of a very complex form with like more geometric forms like the discs, where it's sort of like, you know, I take a like an ellipse and another really much smaller ellipse in the center, and then create the in between, you know, use like a tween tool in Illustrator. All the drawings done in Illustrator. So a lot of what I do is kind of based on, you know, misuse of the tools to some degree, you know, like using them for things that they're really not intended for. You know, and that's a lot of fun. A lot of times also what I do is I'll take like, you know, vector-based shapes, wireframe forms and stuff like that, and I'll rasterize them. So it's, you know, essentially creating like a flattened version, and then trace it back into vector art, and then perform some other weird manipulation on it. So going back and forth between raster and vector, I find that a lot of times that'll, you know, generate things that I wasn't really intending, but you know, it's definitely fun, and I really consider a lot of what I do just straight experimentation. But like what you were saying about taking a walk, I mean, in some of the NFTs that I've been minting over the last couple of months, there's definitely sound recordings that I've made down at the swamp. You'll hear like the last one I minted, actually, there's frogs chirping away. That's like actual frogs in an actual swamp near where I live, you know, not downloaded. So, you know, part of it for me is also capturing what's happening in my life, creating documentation of what's happening in my life, even if I'm the only one that really like knows about it or appreciates it.
Or maybe it's even subconscious sometimes. But thank you. That was helpful.
So Malavika, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, go for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I am showing a few of my work where material played a very important role. So this what currently, is it visible to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. So particularly this work, I have done a digital collage, and after that, I have added threads, which are cotton, jute, different because of the dimension and the textures. I have threaded threads. And I have used a tracing paper, which I have colored with the pencil colors and also to keep the transparencies. So what I've tried to show that the design element which is getting created is like a form of a house. So all the colors of the natures are in the house. That way I've tried to show. And that became possible because of the material, and even the layers which I have created. This particular place, if you see, is all one after another. I'm creating layers of tracing papers. So certain times the physical material also becomes very important for me to create the effect on my work. And even like this rolling concept, what I have created, like a staircase going upward. Similarly, tracing paper I have used. Second. In this work, I have used acrylic sheet engraved along with threads. So these are the, I mean, the upward, which you can see the line ones. These are the areas where the threads are in a form of a cord, because I have twisted 2-3 layers of, so 2-3 yarns of thread. And the other area which you can see, these are acrylic along with the engraving. So what I mean to say that because I was listening, so I thought of sharing few of my work where I feel material was a very important factor. And the another reason is, if I see, it creates a shade. So even though it's hiding some way. At the same time, it is creating a 3D effect. This work, I have used crystal and engraving on acrylic. The center part where you can see the globe is crystal. The 4 images, if you see, it's actually 4 sides of the sculpture. So again, acrylic, I have used engraving along with cut work. So it is having a see-through effect. And because of the transparency, I can see the globe, the obstacle areas and non-obstacle areas. So, and along with that, certain areas I have painted also with the gold, because again, materialistic and metallic effect, both are creating a dimension opaque effect. Again, it's a crystal, and here the engraving is done in 9 cubes separately. So I created the image first, definitely it's a digital collage first I did. Then segregated in 9 parts. And the gold line and the silver line, what you see again, it is a on acrylic. I got it made holes. On that, I have stitched with the metallic thread. So the silver is on one side, and on the other side, it is gold. So 3 layers of transparency is creating the effect. Yes, I think that's all. Thank you.
Wow. It looks like there was a bit of magic involved in creating some of that. That's beautiful, Malvika.
Thank you so much. I just thought, you know, I think this fits for the concept. So I thought, let me get up and make the things. Otherwise, actually, I was lying and listening them. Because here it is at 3:30. It was when I just started. 3 o'clock, sorry. Night.
Did you do all of the work with the crystals yourself, or did you work with someone?
No, I got it made.
Okay.
Yeah. Even the acrylic sheet also, engraving or cut work, I got it made. I gave the designs to them and they made it for me.
Wow. Beautiful.
Thank
you. Okay, so any other questions, discussions?
I have a question. I mean, I think I want to beg the question one more time. In other words, it's the idea of saying, you know, what is it about working physically, you know, that those of us who are working with, I think what's going on is we're talking about almost everything except the question itself. In other words, it's like, why is, I mean, we can maybe say that, you know, okay, it gives us something that we can sell. Okay, that's fine. You know, or like why NFTs, or why this or why that. I think that I want to ask the formal question, you know, is like, why is it, you know, why is it in a day and age, you know, that we have all these, you know, digital artifacts and all this technology? Why is it still important to work with stuff when, you know, in other words, it's like, you know, in many ways, it's sort of like saying we have a, you know, we have you know, we have these tools that almost maybe let us do almost whatever we want. You know, why do we constrain ourselves to, you know, to this stuff called matter, you know? And I mean, I'm being a little bit offhand, as I am, you know, I'm kind of being offhand in the same way that Dadaist George Gross said, "Der blutige Ernst," you know, this is bloody serious. In other words, I'm being comical on the surface, but I'm being really incredibly serious about what I'm saying underneath today, because I'm just, you know, getting a little nervous, you know, getting a little burnout done, but
No,
No.
and Patrick, that I think definitely goes to the heart of the matter. And all I can say for myself, and I, because as I've taught some things in the past and seeing, you know, younger folks getting growing up and what their experiences are, for me, I think it is partly age, because I keep going back to the sense of the physicality of my youth and growing up pre-digital world and everything. I think for me, there's this sense of living as a physical human being, and going to museums where I've seen artwork that's very big or very small, they have a very different impact. Can you replicate that in a digital environment or in a VR environment? Sure,
Possibly.
you can to some degree, but there's still the sense of touch, there's our senses, and to this day right now, we haven't replicated those kinds of experiences virtually or to this point. Now, whether we'll do that at some point, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's that famous essay that talks about, I mean, of course, you have, Greenberg, who did, avant-garde and kitsch, and there's I think it's wine something, but Michael, I forget his name, but he did a thing on the theatricality of art, and the idea of saying, something with just so let's just take Colin's piece. That's at the centerpiece of let's just consider it at a foot tall, consider it at the 35 feet tall it is in the in the show. But I mean, but what I'm saying, at its placement and that sort of thing, I mean, the configuration, the form, and all these sorts of things, and the sort of thing that it expresses. I mean, in VR we can sort of do these things, but we're still physical embodied beings, that are still standing in the space.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I don't have a ton of physical work, or the work that I do have that is physical, it's like it's either stuff you can roll up, and I really thank Tommy Mintz for getting a massive mind shift when working with his work, because all of a sudden I said, oh my God, I can actually, it's like we can, it's like we can actually have big work again. This is great, but on the other hand, and it packs up really, really tightly. And so this has been the big problem with Materiality, is the fact that this stuff takes up space.
Yeah.
And you wind up with a bunch of this stuff that you're wondering, is this, are my great grandchildren going to get it? Is my estate foundation going to get this? You know what I mean? And what I do with this, and so that's the reason why I'd been a media artist for mainly for so long. But there is, and I use this in the Kantian sense, there is that sublime quality to the material, in other words, something that's awe-inspiring and a little scary. And and that's, I mean, in other words, let's just say I get it. And this is the reason, why I didn't send more than a video to Southampton. And that's the reason why Nagin's work, is so spectacular and that sort of thing. It's actually, the thing is those are prints of the actual work, that are full of, collage and embroidery and that sort of thing. And when people see them in the States, they're going to fall over dead. They're just going to just say, because these are just, the things that were at Southampton, they were just shadows of the real thing. And that's because of I think the way that she works, in Materiality far more depth than I do, is, it's stunning. And, this is kind of why, when I was talking with Tommy and, framing this conversation, that sort of thing, it's like, this is these were the sort of things we were talking about, and and at the end of the day, and this is the other thing I was talking about, like with, doing a catalog or publishing something, in other words, in a book, atoms override
Yeah.
bits when it comes to history. So I'm done.
Okay, Nina.
I think it's the human need for tactility,
Yeah, it's just gonna
for touch. That's why pets became so popular during the pandemic. Pet the pet, and touch the material, touch the paint, the clay, the charcoal, whatever it is, onto, like Colin's doing, onto the digital print, bring it out. And that's what I think, because the humans need to touch. That's why they touch each other.
Jan.
Yeah, Nina, you're sort of right on where I was at with this. I found the pandemic's driven me away from a lot of screen work, and like I started carving, and it's that, and also we live, like, all the tech still doesn't get that tactile thing. Surface just isn't there yet. It's just, that's a definite need as well. That is, we are embodied creatures, and to speak to Patrick's conundrum with the stuff, it's like, do we need more stuff and make more stuff? It's definitely something that I find challenging now that I'm getting back into 3D objects again. And there's a practicality issue there, but for me, it's the desire to, like, I want to carve these in stone again eventually, and I don't know why, but I do. It's like, it's just the next phase of this ongoing clay, and I think it's just the pandemic in particular for me has just put me in this space of like, yeah, I love all this stuff that I can do and I rely on digitally, but man, when I get my hands on something, I feel connected, more connected than I do to any digital work that I do. And that's just, as an artist, that's a deep need for me. And I wasn't aware of it particularly until recently. Thanks.
The Matrix is no fun.
Colin.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that for me, I think both the physical and digital worlds have their own specific appeal. Like, I remember when I first started seeing art software, like, I remember the first time I saw Fractal Design Painter, and I thought, what, I have really no interest in trying to replicate charcoal using a computer, or replicate oil paint using a computer. I'm much more interested in trying to do things that I could do with great difficulty, if at all, with hand media, like generate really intricate wireframe forms, or create 3D models, things that, just would be really, difficult to try to do with traditional media. So for me, like, like, I know when I'm doing like ink wash stuff, grounds, I can definitely like create a lot more material in a short amount of time with physical media than trying to replicate the same thing digitally. And I get a more satisfying result as well, and to me, it's the combination of those things that I find interesting and compelling. That being said, definitely I will get lost doing animation or inside the machine, but I think there's definitely the part of me that learned on physical media underneath the computer self that still needs some satisfaction, artistic satisfaction.
Renata?
Yes, I'm looking at it from a historical point of view. I'm looking at the way our museums preserve manuscripts that are thousands of years old. And we all are aware that we're part of the continuum of civilization. And so far, a lot of people have not cottoned on to digital at all. And I'm thinking about how long it's going to take before museums and galleries really understand and really get what they're doing. I read recently that the Albright Knox Gallery purchased its first NFT, but I'm trying to find articles about it online and I can't. But there are some curators who are plunging into digital, but we're still in the postmodern phase of things. And
but Rivers Ryan gets it.
Yeah, I know she does, but she's very rare. When you think of all the museums around the world, she's only one curator in one American museum. So I think it's going to take ages for them to put us into our historical context. And that's why it's important, I think, to have a certain reverence for the material.
I think the thing is interesting. I think I can probably, I mean, this is nothing on a national scale, but I think I can probably rattle off at least 6 to 10 curators in the United States that get it. You know, like Christian Paul being another one. But I mean, it's like, I think the point that I want to make is the fact that I think in many ways, a lot of us think that things are just beginning, but it's just a matter that there is a rich history that goes back, a long time. And it's like Vera Molnar, a plotter, she's, plotter artist, got into the Venice Biennial, and then she's 90, 92.
98.
98, bravo, and so, and, Roman Brasco is 93. And, and so, I guess what I'm saying is that there's a rich history of this stuff, and that it's I don't think it's really accepted by the mainstream, but it isn't exactly at the fringe anymore. I think around 2000 or so it really broke through, and there's a lot of digital work in a lot of museums and that sort of thing. But I think I think the range of discussion that it goes around it is far more limited than traditional media.
Nina, you have a follow-up?
Oh, I just want to say, I've been able to keep this material thing at bay because I use my iPhone and I use my finger. So I'm constantly touching the screen. It's the tactility with the screen, with my iPhone screen, that takes over in forming my images. And so I've tried to go back to using charcoal and paints and everything for this other project, but I'm obsessed with my finger on my iPhone screen and creating the images. Obsessed.
That's totally awesome.
I don't use a stylus. I never use a stylus.
Okay.
Just my finger.
Finger painting and digitally.
Finger painting,
I love it. Yeah. Okay, Lucy.
Yeah, I just want to say absolutely the materiality, the tactile world, being able to touch things has that's very just delicious to be able to reach out and touch something, pick something up, feel its weight. But there's another aspect of our bodies and how we relate to the world, and that's like scale. And yeah, when you walk into a gallery or something and you see a small object or a small painting compared to a massive one, or you walk into a cathedral or you're walking through a forest, that relates to our bodies in a certain way that it's just like, oh, I feel small. And that's an amazing sensation, over and above touch. Touch is amazing. And there's also this, element of scale. And there's also the element of balance. So I just want to put a shout out to the immersive arts, like virtual reality and dome projection and installation, where you're completely surrounded like a cathedral or like a forest, but things are like moving, like when you're in a forest and everything is quivering, all the trees, like, and you get the sound as well. Well, you can capture some of that in a virtual reality piece. when you're, crafting a work to completely surround the viewer with motion and sound, you're relating to the viewer's body.
Yeah.
And so I just want to put it like, there is a way to relate to the viewer's body with certain digital mediums that are especially immersive. That's kind of new and really exciting. Even though, I create immersive works, and half the time I like walk in the woods and I'm like, why do I even bother? Walk in the woods is like so rich and beautiful.
No, absolutely. I
But
absolutely
this is
agree.
my medium and I just have to try anyway. So I just wanted to relating to our bodies.
Scale for sure, I agree.
Mediums, yes, scale and motion and sound and that kind of like, it's a certain type of sensation. It feels, you feel it. Balance is a feeling, you feel it. So.
And the challenge is, and we're still not quite there, and you and I have good experience from the game world, is that it's still really tough to get that sense of complete when, as a human being, we have sensory understanding of the world much deeper and better than we can do in virtual worlds to this point. But the immersive quality is still really, really dynamic in a virtual environment. I agree with you totally from that standpoint.
And to be, crafting with that in mind, it's like, what does it feel like? How slow do you want things to be? Or usually how slow? Okay, I need to slow it down. But anyway, I just want to put that out there.
No, thank you. Thank you. And the thing with our virtual environments and with our art today is that we can explore that sense of scale at a much deeper breadth than we can completely materially. And so we can create environments that are microscopic, that are subatomic or galactic in scale, that is much harder to do in a completely material realm. So that's kind of fascinating too. Well, I'm looking at the time here, and it looks like we're getting close to finishing. So does anybody have any final thing? I have one piece left in terms of materiality. Here is the exhibit catalog for the Techspressionist show. It does exist in a material form. So I got mine this past week. So thanks, Colin, for all your hard work in making that happen. If you haven't gotten it, at least get the PDF form, which is free. But I also suggest that you get a nice material catalog as well.
No, actually, the one thing I think is that, is that we have even at least a few dozen of these things around. Somebody's going to come along 20 years later and they're going to find one of these things and say, what the hell was this? This happens. This happens,
Yes.
because I have this booklet that I got from this colleague who was working. It was another VR pioneer, and the thing is that it's called The Idiot's Guide to VR Environmental Design, and it was done in like 1998 or something like that. And she gave me a copy, and I said, this is great. And then one of my other things is that I love satellite telecommunication, or especially slow scan TV. I've got a big collection of these crazy things. And the issue is that, one of the people involved with Ars Electronica did a book called Art Communication. And it was published by Western Front in Vancouver. And it's been out of print for a long time. And I've been doing research on this stuff for like 16, 17 years. And when I was in Vancouver, I found this thing. And I just said, it's fantastic, so I just said, and then the thing is, because I knew that there were probably maybe about 100 of these things in existence in the world right now. I scanned it, and there you can find it in various places as a PDF. But the thing is that is that I think both are necessary, but but digital links and things like that go bad. I'm shifting everything over in my void.com stuff. I've taken everything out of my entire history that I've ever done offline right now. It's on hard drives, and if something goes wrong, I mean, my legacy's gone. And I'm putting everything on the patricklichty.com server on DreamHost. But it's this is precarious stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean in regards to the preservation of culture, and I think Renata makes a really good point. The idea is that if you're looking at it from an antiquarian perspective, it's you need. I mean that's why I have things in collections. That's why I have things in museums. That's that sort of thing. It's like because of the fact that I know that somebody's probably going to come across this stuff in 50.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I think we've hit the end of our time frame here. Reminder again, we'll be meeting in 2 weeks. I'm not sure yet what our topic is going to be, so if anybody wants to stick around, we can discuss that. And I thank everybody for being here today and for hanging in there with me today. So
thank you, Michael.
All righty, so we're going to be stopping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'll be around. I'll stick around.